Ladies and gentlemen, dreamers and doers, seekers and strivers, those who have stumbled, those who have soared, and those who stand today on the uncertain ground between who they were and who they hope to become. This message is for you. It is for every person who has ever questioned their potential, every person who has felt the tremor of fear before taking a step forward, and every person who has glimpsed, however faintly, the extraordinary life waiting for them beyond their comfort zone. Today we gather not in a room, not in a hall, not even beneath a physical roof, but in a space where ideas meet action, where desire encounters discipline, and where the longing for something greater transforms into the courage to pursue it. Today I want to speak to you about possibility. Not possibility as an abstract concept, but as a living force inside you, waiting to be awakened, shaped, and unleashed upon the world. You see, too often we think of motivation as a spark, something brief, fleeting, and unreliable. But motivation, in its truest form, is not a spark. It is a flame that can start small, yes, but one that can be tended, shaped, protected, and fueled until it becomes a fire so powerful it changes the landscape of your life. And that fire begins with a decision, not a wish, not a hope, not an idle thought whispered into the wind, but a decision, a conscious, deliberate, determined choice to refuse the ordinary, reject the inevitable, and step boldly into your own potential. Every life has turning points, moments when we look at where we are and feel something inside us whisper, "This isn't all you were made for." Perhaps you have felt that whisper. Perhaps it has been growing louder. Perhaps it is not a whisper anymore, but a pounding call to rise, to evolve, to stretch into a new version of yourself. And let me tell you this, that voice inside you is not a fantasy. It is not an illusion. It is not the empty echo of ego or desire. It is the voice of your potential, the version of you that exists on the other side of hard work, discipline, resilience, and courage. The version of you who is waiting to be brought to life through your choices. But between who you are and who you want to be lies a journey. A journey filled with peaks and valleys, triumphs and trials, breakthroughs and breakdowns. A journey that demands more from you than you think you have, and then reveals that you had more all along. A journey that will test your patience, your perseverance, your resolve, your identity, your habits, your excuses, and your willingness to grow. It will not be easy, but make no mistake, it will be worth it. Because the truth is this, every meaningful transformation in human history was born from someone deciding that the future deserved to be better than the past. Every innovation, every invention, every act of courage, every great achievement began with a moment when someone looked at their circumstances and said, "I can do more. I can be more. I can give more." And those words, said privately at first, became the foundation of something that would eventually shift the world around them. So today I ask you, what world are you ready to shift? What wall are you ready to break? What belief are you ready to rewrite? What limit are you ready to shatter? What version of yourself are you finally ready to stop postponing? You don't need permission to begin. You don't need the perfect moment. You don't need every detail figured out. Progress does not require perfection. It requires movement. It requires presence. It requires purpose. Most of all, it requires belief. Belief not just in the outcome, but in yourself. Belief that even on the days when you stumble, you are still on the path. Even when you fall, you can rise. Even when you doubt, you can continue. Even when you fear, you can act. Fear, after all, is not the enemy. Fear is a compass. It points you toward what matters. If something scares you, it is often because it matters deeply. Fear reveals your values, your passions, your unfinished business. Fear is proof that you are standing at the edge of something significant. But significance is never found in retreat. It is found in advancing despite the trembling in your chest and the uncertainty in your mind. And let me tell you something else. You have survived every hardship you have ever faced, every storm you thought would break you, every disappointment that hollowed you out, every moment you were certain you could not endure. You survived it. You made it here. Your track record for overcoming difficulty is 100%, and that means you are capable of more strength, more resilience, more determination, and more growth than you have ever given yourself credit for. So when you think about your goals, whether they are personal, professional, physical, emotional, creative, financial, or spiritual, remember that you are not starting from weakness. You are starting from history, from experience, from endurance, from countless lessons you learned the hard way. You are starting from a foundation already shaped by everything you have overcome. And that means you are not beginning as a novice. You are beginning as someone forged by life itself. But now let's talk about the path ahead. The part of the journey where vision meets discipline. Because motivation can ignite the fire, but discipline keeps it burning. Discipline is the invisible architecture of success. It is what transforms I want into I will. It is what separates the dreamers from the achievers. It is what turns goals into realities. And discipline is not about self-punishment. It is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is about showing up on the days you feel inspired and the days you feel indifferent. The days when the sun shines and the days when the sky feels heavy. The days when the world applauds you and the days when no one is watching. Discipline is the act of choosing your future self over your present comfort over and over again. But let me be honest with you. There will be days when discipline feels impossible. Days when your energy runs low, when your motivation fades, when life weighs more than you expected. On those days, remember this. Discipline is not a feeling. Discipline is a decision. And decisions do not require emotion, they require commitment. You will also face doubt. Doubt from others. Doubt from yourself. Doubt disguised as logic. Doubt disguised as practicality. Doubt disguised as realism. But realism is often the mask worn by fear, and fear, if left unchallenged, becomes the boundary of your life. So how do we break free from fear? We act. We take one step, even a small one, forward. And every step forward shrinks fear, strengthens courage, and builds momentum. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in human achievement. Once you begin, once you create motion, once you turn your someday into today, everything begins to shift. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds resilience. Resilience builds mastery. Mastery builds transformation. But it all begins with the first step. The truth is, you don't need to know how you will climb the entire mountain. You just need to know how to take the next step. And once you take that step, the next will reveal itself. And the next. And the next. Until one day you look back and see that the mountain that once intimidated you has become the ground beneath your feet. Along the way, you will encounter failure. Not once, but many times. But failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is a chapter in the story of success. It is a teacher, not a judge. It reveals what you need to refine, not what you need to abandon. The greatest achievers in history were not the ones who avoided failure. They were the ones who refused to let failure define them. So when you fail, and you will, remember this. Failure is feedback. Failure is direction. Failure is data. Failure is proof that you are stretching beyond your limits, and growth always lives beyond your limits. You must also understand something essential. Success is not a single destination. It is not a finish line you cross one day with triumphant music playing in the background. Success is a lifestyle, a long sequence of choices, habits, values, and actions that build upon one another. Success is an identity you grow into. It is who you become on the journey, not just what you achieve at the end. When you embrace success as an identity rather than an outcome, you begin to act like the person you want to be long before you become them. You begin making choices aligned with your future instead of your fear. You begin cultivating habits that build strength, clarity, discipline, and purpose. You begin carrying yourself with the confidence of someone who knows where they are going, even if the road is not yet visible. And let me tell you something powerful. Identity drives behavior. When you believe you are someone capable, disciplined, resilient, determined, and worthy of success, you act accordingly. When you adopt the identity of a person who does not quit, you stop quitting. When you adopt the identity of someone who keeps rising, you rise. When you adopt the identity of someone who deserves better, you pursue better. But this identity must be chosen again and again until it becomes natural. Now let's talk about the people around you, because your environment shapes your energy, your mindset, your standards, and your progress. You deserve to be surrounded by people who elevate you, challenge you, inspire you, and believe in you.